Greetings and welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 4 reviews up this week, the first of which is Veritas. Let me see here. So, Veritas, unshroud secrets hidden deep within the dark chambers of the god of shadow, Veritas, and his castle. Persevere through monsters and mysteries lurking in every corner. Prepare to leave camp and journey into a castle's lonely halls by collecting resources and equipment to make it out alive. That description is a bit vaguer than I would have expected. Because I can sum this up, much quicker and simpler. Have you played a Game Boy Legend of Zelda game? It's pretty much what if that, but just dungeons. And that's Veritas in a nutshell. I mean, that's not all too Veritas, but it's a very interesting track to take with Zelda. It's like, what if we took a certain slice of the pie and just run and make that the game. And I suppose if you were going to do that, you were going to go with the dungeons. Because, the dungeons are not it's not all there is to Zelda.
Mm. But there are, particular speedrun categories of just dungeon aisles.
Right. It's at least until recent times the most flavorful part of the Zelda pie. But let's face it, the dungeons roles have been kind of devolved with the Breath of the Wild duology, let's call it.
Yeah.
Now, though, putting that aside, this is a certain type of Zelda dungeon, because it's invoking Game Boy Color here.
Yeah, specifically the Game Boy Color era.
Yeah. Now, not sure how close this game is to the actual specifications of a Game Boy Color. I do know that this isn't an actual Game Boy Color game that's been made to work on a PC, at least to my understanding.
Just to my eye, they are definitely cheating on colors.
Yeah, that's what I suspected as well. Now, if there are any questions about this game, we can actually ask the developer because they are appearing on the program in about 2 weeks from time of recording.
Yeah, as long as nothing goes wrong.
Right. I'm just saying what's in the plans, what's in the card.
It's best to note that now because we've had devs who've had to back out and then be like, "Where interview?"
Oh, that happened last week. That happened this week.
I'm aware.
Due to I'm putting things in context for future listeners.
Fair.
Remember, we're not just doing things for the moment. This part of the show is for the ages.
Indeed.
Anyway, also differing from the Zelda track is the type of equipment used in combat. So, another curious choice made here. Because your player character, he's not an adventurer, he's not a knight, he's not any sort of warrior per se. He's a miner. A miner by trade.
Digs in the mines miner.
Mm-hmm. And thus his weapon, quote unquote, is a pickaxe. Once again, it's a curious choice. because I'll note the way the combat mechanics work. You may not be able to quite get it from just watching the screen alone, but like you'll note that the pickaxe is acting very different than, say, Link's sword.
Yeah, like you're not getting the full 3-square swipe.
Yeah.
Well, you are, kind of, but it's in a different orientation. It's not 1 square in front of you. It's 2 squares directly in front of you, and then there's 1 off to the side, it looks like.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my point is he's swinging a pickaxe like you would swing a pickaxe. He's not swinging a pickaxe like you would swing a video game pickaxe, like, side to side. You swing a pickaxe overhead to maximize the kinetic energy of the force behind it.
Right.
And that actually does have an appreciable effect on gameplay. And, maybe not necessarily a negative one, but it's a noticeable one. Because, an overhead swing, as you noted, covers a lot less range than a sword does. Mm-hmm. At least the way Link swings his sword.
Yes.
And that is important to note because, if you, this game looks and plays a lot like a Zelda game, yes. But it's got its own particular flourishes that make it different from a Zelda game. And the weapon is chief among them. Now, I will also note that you will be able to power up the pickaxe in order to do various powers, depending on the kind of pickaxe you have equipped. But here's the thing. I found them to be rather useless. It takes too long to charge up the pickaxe, and unlike with Link's sword, you don't really swing to attack then charge. You have to kind of charge up. There isn't a attack before charge.
It's so just kind of you make the swing.
Yeah. Now, like I said, it's functional, but
there is a charge attack that is a spin attack, it looks like.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. The thing is, it takes too long to charge up, and the spin attack isn't as useful as Link's charge whirl.
Yeah, it looks like it's not as big, and also doesn't last as long.
Yeah, like I said, that particular attack can change depending on the pickaxe held, but in general, this is a weird paradox because they got the attention to detail down in how a pickaxe should function. Kind of realistically. But on the other hand, this also showcases why this is a tool and not a weapon.
Right.
So, like I said, I'm a bit mixed on it. Anyway, so the other immediate notification in terms of differences between this and an actual Zelda game is your inventory. In that you have a much smaller inventory than a Zelda game.
Well, Link having extremely deep pockets has always been kind of a thing.
Right, but I'm just talking the types of items you will get. I'm Petty hasn't gotten all of the core items yet. He's got the pickaxe. He's got the dark shroud. I forget what they call it in game, but it's basically a shadow hand that allows you to go back to the entrance,
which is important because some of the puzzles do involve blocking off the path you came through.
Yeah, Petty, you have to run past this. Yeah. I will say that is another significant difference between this and an actual Zelda game. Like, you can free run anywhere. It's not advisable because you can very easily fall into a hole that way.
Oh, it looks like you got the hook shot.
Yep, that's what I was going to get to next. You basically get the hook shot. You have to. Okay, that's one way of doing that. The other is getting to the. You can hook shot to the barrel. In fact, that's how you get past this.
That was also what we in the business call a fuck up.
Yes. And your fourth core item is something that I found to be a bit redundant because, at least initially, it wasn't until later on I figured out why I was given basically the power bracelet.
Hmm.
And it's
Does
redundant.
it let you push heavier stuff?
It lets you grab stuff. It basically does the same thing that the hook shot does, only like kind of
pick stuff up and carry it around with you.
Yeah.
Maybe things that besides pots. I
don't know. Yes, but anything you can pick up with the power bracelet, you can pick up with the hook shot. But the reason they did that is because the power bracelets, you can change that with another item. For example, I switched out for a potion that would replace a health tick. It was basically a carryable version of one of those essences, essence high. Now I'm not sure if any sort of other core puzzle elements come up later on. There were a few items I couldn't get to, but I might not have been able to figure out how I should have gotten to them in that particular moment in time. Because, from an overall vantage point, it seemed to be what you see is what you get. And the real cleverness and trickiness of the puzzleness is in the environments. Here is a very good example. You can use the barrels to get over the river, and they operate basically how ice operates in how tile puzzles operate in Zelda. And you've just unlocked your fast travel.
Yay.
Yep.
Oh, wrong button.
It's fine. Yeah.
Oh, I can't go over there yet.
Yeah. Anyway, so in lieu of having a ton of items to equip for a given situation, you're given a crafting system, which I guess makes it more like the more recent Zeldas than anything else in that respect. You will get items of various statures, let's say, and you have to mix 3 of them up to get a new pickaxe or shoes or different category but same kind of outline as food. Now, I was a bit confused about the food because the way the in-game dialogue described it, it made it sound like you have to have something being eaten or else you're gonna starve. But there doesn't seem to be any kind of hunger meter. At least none that I was able to figure out. Instead, the way food works is it can make you stronger, better attack power, more defense, that kind of thing. Or sometimes it'll do nothing. So, like I said, I'm just a bit confused about that. And that's also kind of a replacement for towns. Instead of going to towns, what you'll do is you'll set up camp. Your companions here, this traveling troop you've been traveling with, they're the people who will allow you to do various things, like craft items, concoct food, buy items, unlike musical powers, which is its own separate thing, but also kind of junctions to the same character as the crafting materials for some reason. It's like, it makes sense in-game, sort of. Anyway, like I said, I suppose it's a fine substitute for a town. Mm-hmm. And that's how I describe the game. It's fine. It's good. It's even great at what it does. It's just, this is a partial Zelda experience at best. Here's the boss. I think I fought a different boss here. Or maybe it was I'm thinking of another boss. Boss fights were all right. Anyway, other things that make this game stand out from a typical Zelda game is the plot is very surprisingly dense and purple prosy.
Fuck.
What?
Oh, I have my cap locks button unbound.
Oh.
So it wants me to use that, so I need to switch to a different keyboard profile.
Yeah. Anyway, the tale that's being told in this game is definitely much grander than a Zelda game. At least in terms of everything going around, to the point where I wasn't 100% sure what was going on at any given time. But fairly immaterial. Another thing that stood out is the music. I'm assuming that the listeners have been hearing the soundtrack. What you've been playing?
Don't know. I think it might be a little too low.
The thing is, this game doesn't sound like you would expect it to sound. You see this game, and what would you expect it to sound like? Well, you'd probably expect it to be chiptunes, or there some facsimile therein. you know, like you'd expect this to sound like a Game Boy game in addition to looking like a Game Boy game. And I can't quite place the sound. Like, it's not like a full-on orchestra or anything like that, but it's, you know, it's a lot more melodic and musically complex than anything the Game Boy could ever trudge out, let me tell you. You know, to the point where, honestly, the soundtrack was kind of distracting because it's just, you know, it's not music I ever associate with a game that looks like, you know, something that I should be playing on a Game Boy Color.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I believe that's what people call the cognitive dissonance. So
probably,
you know, not necessarily a complaint, but it is something that stuck out. Yeah. Anyway, game didn't seem to be too long. Granted, I stopped playing when I got stuck in a place and unfortunately had to move on to the next week's games, as so often is the case, because, yeah, the game is really enjoyable. You know, it's just, and I keep coming back to this, you know, it's kind of like if you enjoyed the, you know, one particular portion of a meal, it's a really refined take on that versus, you know, the full-bodied Zelda experience. Granted, we're aiming at the Game Boy series, so there's there's less than in other Zelda games, but there's still a lot in what the Game Boy games had, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know. I suppose it's also worth noting another, you know, where this game clearly cheats the most is in the animations. Like, you know, the zombie enemies. You might have seen. I'm not sure if they've come up yet, but like,
yeah,
enemies
I saw them.
Enemies react to getting hit and shit like that, which is
with way more sprites than they should have had in the Game Boy Color era.
Yeah, it's like it's something that really sticks out to me because I'm like, yeah, it's one of those, this is too well animated for the era you're going for.
Hell, even these talking animations, there are way, way too many frames here for the Game Boy.
Oh, even having a portrait, like
you could get away with a still frame portrait, but with the with all these lip flaps and bobs and blinking, yeah, no.
Well, I mean, at the same time,
yeah,
like you know, with the game, like I remember with Link's Awakening DX, you know, they had the stamp scenes, but it was all in that style. There wasn't the overhead, and then you had the portraits. Like, I'm not sure if the Game Boy or Game Boy Color was even capable of rendering that together.
Like, if you had a small roster, maybe, but there are 4 characters in this room alone. Oh, hell no for the original Game Boy Color.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll have much more insight into the development process in a few weeks when we talk to the devs. But yeah. Anyway, overall, this is one of the best games I've played all year. And I don't just mean in terms of games I've reviewed for the show. I mean just games overall. You know, it's definitely something I see on the best of list.
It's not quite up there with the Game Boy Zelda games, but that's a really, really high bar.
Yeah. Like I said,
hell, some of the Game Boy Zelda games don't even get on that bar. Looking at you, Oracle of Seasons.
I thought both of the Oracle games were pretty good, but
I personally like Ages better than Seasons, but that's mostly because the Seasons gimmick annoyed me.
Well, they do have different emphases intentionally.
I'm aware.
but that's the common consensus. Most people pick ages over seasons. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh yeah, this CG right here, hell no on the Game Boy.
Honestly,
you'd be surprised. You could get some pretty detailed full screen images.
Yeah, that's more what I was talking about.
Images, yes, but there is a lot of animation going on there.
Yeah, there was way too much animation going on for actual gameplay.
If it was just a couple of still frames, I could buy that. But with the animation, oh hell no.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so to compound the, I suppose, good tidings I have towards this game, Veritus comes in at a very, very surprisingly affordable $6.99. I think that might just speak to what they took here, because once again, this is what if Game Boy Color games, but only the dungeons.
Yeah, because $6.99 is about what you would have paid for a GB, a Game Boy ROM on the 3DS.
Right. But this is also the developer's third game. And their other games run much... They're much pricier affairs. Is what I'm saying. So... like their game Curse Crackers For Whom the Bell Tolls. By the way, Bell is a pun here with double meaning. Like, I'm presuming Bell is the character, the protagonist's name. But this is a $15 game, and their first game, Prodigal, is a $15 game. So this is, this game is literally going half the price of those other projects. And while I can't speak to those games, since, we have not been provided them yet, that may change. It's happened in the past. Like, sometimes the developer will just give us their other games.
Not that we expected or anything like that, but,
No. And when it comes to the interview, they gave us Veritus because we're going to be focusing on this game for the interview. Honestly, this review is just kind of a side thing. But I think it worked out well. Because, once again, I'm honestly surprised Veritas is as inexpensive as it is.
Oh yeah, and here's the zombies.
Yeah. This puzzle isn't too difficult, and also, you don't have to put a barrel on the last switch. Yeah. Like, there's just way too much animation going on with these characters. Like, I don't remember regular Zelda enemies being that expressive. Maybe I remember the bosses.
Yeah, this looks more closely like could have been a GBA game instead of Game Boy Color.
Right, but the color palette is...
Yeah, the color palette emulates the Game Boy Color, but there's enough animations and stuff here, you could have passed this off as a GBA game,
Not so much the color palette, but the color depth. They're still generally going with...
Yeah.
The roughly 4 shades per thing.
Yeah. Anyway, so the bottom line here is there's really no excuse to pick this game up unless you're waiting for a console version. Because as far as I know...
to not pick this game up? You said there's no excuse to pick this game up.
Yes. Sorry.
Let's get that right before the guests come and be like, yo, why are you telling people to not buy our game when you seem to like it?
Fair enough. As I was saying, as of right now, this game is only on the PC. Once again, this is definitely something that's going to come up in the interview should it occur. Will there be a console version? What consoles are you aiming for? If I had to personally guess at this point in time, probably yes, with a Switch version in the works. That's usually how it goes.
This is just us assuming. We have not heard anything from the developer on an actual Switch version in production.
Right. I'm like, but it's available now on Steam. So if you want to play it, go buy it there in whatever capacity. This definitely seems like it would be very amiable to a Steam Deck.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
Like, maybe even better on a Steam Deck because, once again, given the kind of Zelda game it's emulating.
Right. Steam Deck, there's enough play in the controls. If you have a controller for your phone, you could probably play it on the remote play via that.
I'm not sure I would recommend that because you do need a bit of precision.
Only if you have a controller. If you want to play this with a touchscreen, no.
Yeah. I'm like, I definitely wouldn't recommend this game with a touchscreen.
Yeah, but they have, like, Razer has a thing you can slot your phone into now, and a few other companies have one that you can connect your phone to, so.
Anyway, like I said, about the highest recommendations I can give towards a game. So, like I said, I thought this game would be good. I didn't think it would be this good. The only thing I found really limited was just the track it took. Once again, it's all pie, it's all cherries, it's all, one particular thing of a meal rather than a whole meal. So it goes sometimes. Anyway, so that'll about do it for Veritas here. Be sure to tune in after the break as Petty Fan will be reviewing Creatures of Ava.